Alright, can I turn this on without making that horrendous sound again? Alright, when we were trying to decide what topics to talk on, since the theme is on purpose, okay, what's the purpose of life? That's a good fit. And then I was given some information on how we can know God exists. And they really liked it from previous presentations. So let's cover that too. Does God exist? So we're going to cover the questions, does God exist? And what is the purpose of life in about an hour? Now, many of you should be thinking, because I would be thinking this, those are two of the biggest questions in life. There's millions of things that have been written on it. Countless artists and the best thinkers throughout history have put in their input on it. Regardless of this guy's education or background, I really doubt it's impossible he'll give us something that's a reliable answer on these questions. And that would be the correct thought if it depended on me. But the impossible not only becomes possible, but probable when you have the right source for answers. And the source that I use, you can verify with multiple fields of study. In fact, Christianity is on a level of verification no other belief system can reach. Not atheism, agnosticism, Hinduism, Buddhism, any other belief system. That gives reliability to answers. Now, what we're going to cover is start off covering those two big questions. Then we're going to apply the bigger evidence to support the answers. And then finally, you get to make your biggest choice. All right, so here's our two big questions. Now, this is a lot less complicated than most people make it. When you see this, the vast majority of people will say, there is no way you can know the answer to this. To which I would respond, well, how do you know you can't? Because once you start looking into it, things really simplify. For example, these two questions are actually linked. If you answer the first one, you're going to get the answer to the second one. All right, and I'll explain that with an illustration. So, what do you think the purpose of this item is? What it is, if you can't see it, it's a battery. At one end, you have about 6 inches of fishing line taped to it with a tape at the end of that 6 inches of fishing line. At the other end of the battery is a really long piece of fishing line taped to it. Now, what is the purpose? Why was this created? And if you don't think you can guess why it was actually created, what could it be used for? Any creative guesses? When I did do this with the middle school audience, they come up with just endless answers because they have such creativity, it's incredible. Is there anything you can think you might be able to use it for? What's that? Oh, fuse, that's an interesting one. Have a destructive mind. And I will give you a hint. If you have a troublemaking background, you'll have a better chance at guessing what this is for. Someone brought up the other day you could use it to, they were saying how you could spin it around. Another thing you could do is you could make a good circle by going like that with it since it's weighted at one end.
Is it a shocker or something?
A shocker. Someone brought that one up too. Good thought. I like the way your mind works. All right. Now, I can tell you what the objective truth is of why this was created because I was the creator. Me and two of my troublemaking friends. What we used to do is this. We'd wait till it got dark. Then I would sneak up to somebody's front door and I'd tape that 6 inches of the line there, making sure the battery doesn't hit the door. I reel out the long piece of fishing line and I go hide behind some bushes or a car. And then once we're hidden, I swing the battery and make it knock the door. Now, what'll happen is, if you do it right, it just sounds like someone's knocking. So they open the door, they see no one, and they're like, oh, stupid kids. And they shut the door. If you're really good at it, you have to keep the battery from hitting the door while they open it too. That takes some skill and some practice. But once you get good at it, you can do this 3-4 times before they figure it out. So you make it closer. So near the end, right as they're shutting the door, I let them take one step and then I make it knock again. break that door open, and they're looking, and then I'll even make it knock while they're holding it open, and that really freaks them out. Usually they find me, because my friends were good at holding their laughter through fear, but I just laugh so hard that then it's a run. So, only the creator of something can give you the objectively true purpose of what it was made for. Can it be used for other purposes? Sure. You come up with a lot of creative things for it. But only the creator can give you the objective purpose it was made for. Which brings us to this, and you might be able to see this a little bit better on the handout. These two big questions of life are linked, and you can get an answer, and it's a lot simpler than you think. So let's say you're contemplating, okay, what's my purpose of life? A lot of people blow this off because they're caught up in the daily grind. But when you really think about it, this is a serious question. Because you realize, however you answer these two questions, your thoughts, your responses to life, what life brings to you, your goals, your objectives, your whole path you're setting out for your life, all these things depend on these answers. So it's going to impact you. And if there's something beyond life, well then the impact is off the charts. So, if you're wondering what the purpose of life is, the first thing you got to know is there a creator of this life or not? Because only the creator would know the objective purpose. And look how simple this is. You only got two options. Either a personal, purposeful creator exists, or does not. Those are your only two choices, A or non-A. It's really simple. Now, if a creator exists, then there is objective, true purpose with a capital P, equal to all people in all places and all times. Now, you can also have some other little purposes, like is family and health and career still good purposes? Sure, yeah. But they're subordinate and they're subjective. They're what you come up with. The purpose with a capital P, that's only if there is a purposeful creator. On the other hand, if there is no God, well then there is no creator. There is no objective, true purpose equal for all people, places, and times. Now, the only thing we can do is just come up with what we think our purpose should be. And no purpose is better than the other. One person might say, I want to be a good person and raise my family right. Okay, one person says, I want to dominate the known world by force. If you don't have an objective standard above them, you can't say one's better than the other. It just is what it is. People choose what they want. You can fight against it, not like it. You can't say it's better than yours or worse than yours, because there's no objective standard. So each person would just have to choose whatever purposes they want for their life. And it gets a little bit worse than this, and most atheists won't tell you this. They actually had a lecture, or they had a big meeting, of international meeting, a group of atheists came together, and they had to vote, and they discussed whether they should let the general public know this, because it makes their belief system look pretty bad. But they can't get around it, so now they're starting to be open about it. If there is no God, there's no spiritual, personal being that created us, with a spiritual aspect of us, if we are just our physical being, then every single atom in your brain is 100% controlled by natural laws. I'm a physicist. I went into physics because I like this. I can predict anything if I have the right equations and variables. What biologists, philosophers, physicists will tell you now, if there is no God and you have no spiritual side, it's just physical stuff, every single atom is 100% controlled by initial conditions and natural laws. You don't have any, your feelings, your emotions, your choices that you think you have, those are just, it's illusions that you think they're free will. You don't have free will. You're 100% controlled, including your beliefs, your thoughts, everything. In fact, the co-discoverer of the helical structure of DNA, Francis Crick, he says, your joys, your sorrows, your memories, your ambitions, your sense of personal identity, and your free will are in fact no more than the behavior of a vast assembly of nerve cells and their associated molecules. Stephen Hawking, the most famous physicist of our time, says, Though we feel we can choose what we do, our understandings of the molecular basis of biology shows that biological processes are governed by the laws of physics and chemistry and are therefore as determined as the orbits of the planets. Richard Dawkins, they all say the same thing. So in the end, there's only two possible answers for purpose to life. Either there's a purpose with a capital P endowed by that creator, because only the creator would know what we were made for. And then we can have our other purposes that kind of are in line, tied in under that. Or there is no God, and we just make up our own purposes, and we don't really choose them anyways. It's all determined because we're forced to do whatever our atoms are told to do by natural laws. Only two options. And once you answer whether a God exists or not, you have your answer. So it's not that complicated as people make it. Now you're gonna forget the vast majority of this talk, because a lot of this is new to you. But one thing I would try to remember is just that. Either there is a purpose, or either there is a God or there's not, and that determines whether there's a purpose with a capital P, or there's just made up ones, and these you don't even have control over anyways. All right. So, those are the two big questions. That's part one. Now we're going to cover the bigger evidence. Because a lot of people, they can't get around this logic. They'll say, okay, maybe it is that simple. There is only those two purposes, but there's no way you can know whether a God exists or not. Again, you got to ask them, well, how do you know you can't know? Have you looked? What evidence do you have? Can you give me any? Because I have some. That's what we're going to look at. And once again, once you start looking into it, you start to realize, oh my, there is some amazing evidence out there. We just haven't been getting it. Okay. Here's the other thing I would just say to remember. Researchers already know